Alright, thank God for fantasy football season. I'm Buster Brown, and the show, it's called Redemption Rehab. And if you tuned in today, it's because you want to do one thing, and that's start winning money in fantasy football. Today, we're talking about my top picks in daily fantasy football that'll help you get the job done. So let's head over to the chalkboard
and check out the facts.
Alright, here we are, week 12 of the fantasy football season. Today, we're talking daily fantasy sport and who you should put in your lineups to win some cash. Today, we're going to be checking out sites like rtsports.com and find out who they rank as the top position players in the NFL for week 12. And then we're going to head over to FanDuel and we're going to put them in our lineups to see who we can put in to win the most money in week 12. So let's head over to RT Sports
and check out the facts.
Here we are back on rtsports.com checking out their top 10 quarterback rankings for week 12, starting with Lamar Jackson. If you can fit him in your lineup, and we're going to try for you, you got to do it. He's been scoring a lot of points lately, and he plays on Monday Night Football, I think. And I'm going to tell you what, even though the Rams defense is good, he should put up some points. The over-under in that game is about 47 points. So he should score his usual big number. But guess what? He's expensive on FanDuel. So let's see who else we like. Not a big fan of these quarterbacks here, but I'll tell you what. Jameson Winston's got another big game. Over-under in that game is about 48 points. So he turns the ball over a lot, but Atlanta's secondary is not very good. So we may have to put him in a lineup. Not a big fan of these guys this week. Drew Brees always has a big game against Carolina. Might want to try to get him in the lineup. Okay, here's the guy I really like. His name's Matt Ryan of the Atlanta Falcons. The Tampa Bay secondary is not very good this year. They actually cut their top cornerback because of underperformance, so they're struggling. And Matt Ryan's got some great receivers to throw the ball to. So he's going to be one of the guys we're going to try to stick in our lineup this week. And the other guy we're going to try to stick in our lineup this week is down here, Baker Mayfield. He's got a juicy matchup against the Miami Dolphins. Can't guard anybody. And Baker's going to throw the ball to his wide receivers because he's got some great people to throw the ball to. I do have some sleepers I like this week, like a Carson Wentz, or maybe even of the Philadelphia Eagles, or even Jeff Driscoll of the Detroit Lions. But guess what? They're just as much money as the quarterbacks I really like, so we're going to avoid a sleeper quarterback this week. Since we're on RT Sports, let's go over and check out running backs we like, starting with Christian McCaffrey. Look, he's a lot of money, but if you can get him in a lineup, you got to do it. He's going to be an MVP, I think. He's got a lot of competition at quarterback with people like Lamar Jackson. But I tell you what, that kid deserves it. He's had big game after big game, but he's going to be hard to fit in our lineup. Another guy I really like this week is Alvin Kamara. He's getting like 10 catches a week. You know, he's not getting any touchdowns, but you know what? I expect that to change this week against a weak Carolina run game, and he's affordable this week. So we're going to get a lot of points out of Alvin Kamara. And I do like Nick Chubb also. These guys in the middle here, I'm just not sure of any of them in the top 10. But if you go just out the top 10, I do like Nick Chubb, but that's not who I'm going to suggest. I'm going to suggest Kareem Hunt, his backup. He's getting a lot of touches too, and he's cheap on FanDuel. So we're going to try to get him in our lineup. Some guys that aren't on this list, if you go down here, the guys I like is down here at the bottom, and that's Darius Geis. Look, Washington's got to do the running game because their quarterback's no good. Between Darius Geis and Adrian Peterson, one of them should have a big game against a weak Detroit run game. So I like them. And let's not count out the Pittsburgh Steelers' Jalen Samuels. He's due for a big game this week too. I mean, with all the injuries on the Steelers offense, they got to throw the ball to somebody, and it's usually the running back Jalen Samuels. And I do think maybe this week he finds the end zone. Let's go over and take a look at some wide receivers we like for Week 12 on RT Sports. Just gotta love Michael Thomas. I mean, he's having a best year of his career. If you can get him in the lineup, do it. He's gonna have a huge game. I like Mike Evans too. He's going up against the weak Atlanta secondary, and if you like Mike Evans, you got to come down here and you got to put in Chris Godwin. He's tailed off as of lately, but you know what? He's looking at an all-pro season, and I think he's going to have a big game too. You can stack him with Jameis Winston, what we're going to do, but like I said earlier, Jameis Winston likes to turn the ball over, and he's got an ankle injury that's been hurting him all week. Some other wide receivers I'd keep an eye on. How about DJ Chark? He's having a monster year, looking at making the Pro Bowl. We're going to get him in our lineup. And let me give you some guys I talked about earlier, like down here. Jarvis Landry for the Cleveland Browns going up against a weak Miami secondary, or even a better Brown. How about Odell Beckham? They're both cheap this week, and we're going to get them in our lineups because we think they're going to have a big week. I've already told you about the Atlanta matchup with Tampa Bay. You gotta love Julio Jones right here. He's gonna have a big week against a weak Tampa Bay secondary. And if you like Julio Jones, you gotta come down here and like his teammate who tore it up last week, Calvin Ridley. I expect one or both of these guys to tear it up. And I plan on stacking them both with Matt Ryan in week 12. Let's go take a look at some tight ends we like this week. Okay, here we are back. We're looking at tight ends we like for week 12 in daily fantasy football. Starting with who they have at number 1, Zach Ertz. I do like him. I think Dallas Goedert might even be just a better play for less money, but I do like both Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert for the Eagles going against a weak Seattle secondary. Mark Andrews has been having a great year here, and if you take Lamar Jackson as your quarterback, you got to stack him every week with Mark Andrews. He seems to find the end zone every week. Other guys I like, look at Greg Olsen. Third. Why is he third? Because of all the bye weeks. Kansas City tight ends out, the San Diego tight ends out. So they got to move these guys up. Greg Olsen got 5-6 catches last week, and he's looking to find the end zone this week against New Orleans like he always does. So I can suggest him as a sleeper on FanDuel because he's only $5,100, and that's pretty cheap for a top 3 tight end. I like Ryan Griffin also. He's a little more expensive. The guy just seems to find an end zone every week. So we might have to get him in our lineup. And the other tight ends I want to mention, Darren Waller. I think he's going to find the end zone again this week. He's inexpensive. Told you about Dallas Goedert. And if you want some sleepers at tight end, go down the list and you can get some. Here they are. I really like Vance McDonald. I mean, Pittsburgh's got to throw the ball to somebody. Juju Smith-Schuster's probably not going to play this week, and Deontay Johnson is no sure thing at Pittsburgh this week either. So they got to throw the ball to somebody, and I would say it's either Vance McDonald or a guy I forgot to mention at wide receiver, James Washington. One of those guys could have a big week in week 12. But a guy I'm looking forward to putting into my lineup this week, because he had 10 catches last week, is Cameron Brate of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had like 14 targets, 10 catches, he only had 75 yards, but I tell you what, I could see him having a big game against the Atlanta defense. So let's go over and check out some defenses we like for week 12. Of course, you gotta love Pittsburgh against Cincinnati. New England's been putting up points all year. I definitely love Cleveland against Miami, but guess what? None of these teams excite me very much. So I've decided I'm just going to go with the cheapest defense I can find, and hopefully they get me some points this week. And that's down here, the Washington Redskins against the Detroit offense, going on the road with no running game and a backup quarterback. I think I can get a lot of good players in my lineup this week if I go cheap at defense. Let's head over to FanDuel and see how we can get these guys into our lineup. Okay, here we are on FanDuel looking at week 12 of the fantasy football season. We started out with putting Lamar Jackson in as our quarterback and stacking him with down here with Mark Andrews. Whenever we put a quarterback in our lineup, we like to find a player on the same team and stack them. So that's our stack in this lineup. Of course, we put in Alvin Kamara. We did our sleeper running back, Kareem Hunt, who's only $5,700, but he's going up against the 27th ranked opponent in Miami, and I think he finds the end zone, even though he's a backup. And I also like matchup of the week, Julio Jones against a weak secondary. He's $8,400, but him and down here on this same team, Calvin Ridley, boy, they should have good weeks against the 32nd ranked opponent in Tampa Bay. Not gonna be able to stop those two guys. We got Odell Beckham in here, and he's going up against the 21st ranked opponent in Miami at wide receiver. And I had to go cheap at tight end and defense like I told you I would. Greg Olsen is the 3rd ranked tight end on RT Sports. He's only $5,100, so I got him in there because I didn't like anybody else in the $5,100 range. And as I said earlier, I don't have a lot of money left because of the amount of money I spent at quarterback and wide receiver and tight end, so I had to go cheap at defense. And I figure Washington has just as good a chance as anybody, just like Atlanta did last week, putting up some good numbers. Let's go take a look and see what we could do if we take this lineup and put Matt Ryan in it. Okay, here's another lineup with Matt Ryan in it. We stacked him with Julio Jones right here and Calvin Ridley. You got to do it. You take a quarterback and you stack him with players on the team in hopes they have a big game. Over-under in this game is like 50-plus points. And then we took the 2 running backs we like, Alvin Kamara and Kareem Hunt, and we had enough money because we dropped down in quarterback to put in Mike Evans. He's the number 2 wide receiver on RT Sports next to Michael Thomas. And we went with the number 1 tight end on RT Sports, Zach Ertz. And our sleeper at running back, Darius Geis, going up against the Detroit Lions in Washington. Look, they gotta run the ball in Washington. The coach needs to establish the run. It's between this guy and Adrian Peterson, and I'm going with the 2nd-year player because they want to develop him. And I was able to get upgrade to the Green Bay defense against the 49ers. 49ers have a tendency to turn the ball over. Green Bay's defense isn't bad, so this is our number 2 lineup. Let's go take a look at another lineup where we put Jameis Winston in it. He's a big risk, but we got to give him a try. Okay, here we are taking Jameis Winston as our quarterback. We're stacking him right here with Mike Evans and Cameron Brate so that we can get some double points when he throws a touchdown to these 2 guys. We've got our same 2 running backs we like, Alvin Kamara and Kareem Hunt. We love Julio Jones because he's going to have a big week, and Calvin Ridley. So we kept them in our lineup. And we were able to save some money by get Odell Beckham Jr. in as our flex. We were able to put Washington in as our defense to save money so we can get all these quality players in our lineup. And this looks like a really good lineup right here. Definitely going to use it in some 50-50 matchups and some tournaments. Now let's go over and take a look at what we can do if we put Baker Mayfield in as our quarterback. Okay, here we have Baker Mayfield as our starting cornerback going up against a great matchup in Cleveland against Miami's weak secondary. We stacked him with Odell Beckham Jr. and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt could catch the ball out of the backfield, so I like these 2 stacks. Then we kept Alvin Kamara, who's going to have a big game against Carolina, and we were able to get Mike Evans and Chris Godwin in our lineups, 2 top 10 wide receivers on RT Sports, and we were able to get the number 1 tight end, Zach Ertz, in there, along with another guy who we really like at wide receiver, Calvin Ridley. We were able to do all this because we saved money on defense, the Washington Redskins, who have every bit of chance at home against Detroit to put up some decent numbers. Okay, here we are back on our website, fantasyfootballredemptionrehab.com. If you get a chance, check it out. That's it for week 12. We gave you some great players to choose from. Hopefully it helps you win some cash in week 12. I'm Buster Brown. The show's Redemption Rehab. Good luck.